And welcome everyone to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. I'm Brady, your host as always, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. This is our 199th take, an unconventional start, but we have a very, very fantastic guest lined up for you. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We're going to be welcoming in here in just a few minutes, but before we do, let's thank the people that make this show possible. And that, of course, is our sponsors. Tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate is about to make someone a whole lot richer. Yes, Drew Estate has announced that it will hold a Bitcoin sweepstakes. Yes, one full Bitcoin will be awarded 11 days from now on February 17th on the Freestyle Live edition on their Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Drew Estate Cigar. There's been a few times to enter up. You've all missed your chance if you haven't gotten into it, but there's still plenty of swag to win. So you definitely want to tune in on February 17th to see who will win a full Bitcoin from Drew Estate, as well as incredible prizes and incredible opportunities. We've had some fantastic releases over the last couple of weeks and months from Drew Estate. So there's going to be some more stuff coming up, obviously, and always from the great folks at Drew Estate. And welcome to our 199th take. We are being serenaded tonight. And without further ado, it is my pleasure, it is my privilege, it is my honor to welcome in tonight's guest, as always, making his third appearance on ELOSOFUMARTAKES. Yes, sir. Sponsored by United Cigars and Smoke One Today. Start living united. Yes, Mr. Terence Reilly of Aganorsa Leaf. Terence, how are we doing tonight?
Alexa, stop. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. I am doing absolutely fantastic. What a warm up to a show.
What a way to go. What a way to begin.
It is Sunday, so I mean, it makes sense to have some heavenly chants going on in the background.
Look at that! Isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous. Absolutely.
Can you see all that?
Yeah, that is fantastic lightning for being outside in the middle of the night. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The blends as a night's touch too.
It is. We threw that in there for extra.
So, I really thought. There's even got people in the chat saying they thought they were in church. That's fantastic. Really excited to have you on tonight, Terence. And welcome back. It's been a long time since I've had you on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Always a pleasure to be on.
It's sure to be shaping up to be the greatest night of our lives. So that's always
the greatest night of our entire lives. We're going to share it together. Isn't that nice?
I am pumped. I am jazzed. So, speaking of that opening with the music and the candles and everything like that. So this was actually, so there's a fan page group that you started called the Aganorsa Acolytes, which I'm a member of, and always great Aganorsa stuff going on inside the group. Great chat, great community that you've kind of built up from scratch and everything. I'm a fan of alliteration, as I've learned you are as well. Was that the primary reason why you chose the name Acolytes? Because it is a little unique.
I would. The alliteration was a nice bonus. I would say, acolytes are people that are, very dedicated to something. And, I thought that was, if you're creating a group that generates passion and support for something, that acolyte was a good word, and, creates alliteration with Aganorsa. So it was a twofer.
Two for two. So, I've seen a lot of this stuff on social media lately. In fact, someone just popped it up in the chat as well. Aganorsa validation. What's this all about? What's this movement? What's going on here, Terence? What am I missing?
Well, to the average person, smoking a cigar and validating it looks very similar. If you're, to the unskilled, to the uncouth, but to the careful, discerning eye, it's a completely different thing. So there's actually two types of validation. Paul Palmer, our president in the office, when a shipment comes in, he always says, "Hey, let's go validate it." And so we will randomly select cigars, and we'll take a box. We'll look at the box code. We'll look at the wrapper. We'll look at we'll cut it. We'll do the dry pull on it. And we light it up and we see the burn and the draw and is it consistent? Is it delicious and all these things? And so that's actually a real thing we do to make sure that we're making consistent cigars. I generally use it to just smoke something I want to smoke and justify it as work. And so that's the type of validation that, generally speaking, we're doing a lot of. And so it's kind of just something that we've caught on. We're creating some patches that we're going to release, for validation. And like I said, it's the biggest thing in all this industry is just having fun, and we try to make it fun.
That's awesome. No, I saw that this was kind of a new thing going around, and I was like, man, I apparently missed the first post, or I missed something a little bit, but yeah, I mean, you gotta validate products. I mean, there's a quality check, quality assurance. You gotta make sure that everything's good. So I mean, it sounds like a good excuse as any to smoke a cigar. So speaking of cigars, so we have a new tradition here on ELOSOFUMARTAKES, Terence. It's like I said, it's been a while since you've been with us, and I'm really thrilled to have you back. But so I usually have 3 cigars here, and I allow my guest to select the cigar that I'm going to smoke tonight. So
bring it on.
So we've got a selection of some of Aganorsa made cigars here, including this one's a little out of left field, but a fantastic selection from our good friend there at Corona Cigar there in Florida, Jeff Borsowicz, the Army of Angels, made with FSG tobacco.
Excellent. Well, including FSG.
FSG. Yeah. And of course, some of the finest selection from Aganorsa as well. And then the Guardian of the Farm Rambo. Well, it is not the most infamous Vitola of this. This is one of my
favorite, though.
This is my favorite. Yes, this is my favorite Vitola of the size as well. I remember we shared that. And then not the Maduro, which we'll be talking a little bit about here in a little bit, but the Aganorsa Leaf signature selection, the original one as well. So
wow, what a choice that you have there. Well, I'm gonna say go with the Army of Angels. It's nighttime. I'm sure you're having a couple cigars at some point today. That Army of Angels is rich, delicious. Angel over there at Corona's, that's his blend, and they did an amazing job with it. So let's go with the Army of Angels.
I love this cigar. I love what you guys did with it as well. I mean, the blend's spectacular. The FSG adds a little something to it, but I love what Aganorsa did with this, with the tobacco and with this blend. It's fantastic. So we need to talk Jeff into making somehow make it national for you guys.
Yeah. It's a great cigar.
So, well, Terence, again, I really do. I'm really excited to talk to you about a few things and catch up on some stuff here tonight. Probably a couple of, first and foremost, a couple of things that we need to chat about real quick is also that's been coming up a little bit on social media too is I think if I got the order right of things that you love in life, there's your family, Aganorsa, well-written books, and then Clutchburger. I think that's the order. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's about right. It's a photo finish for several of those, but yeah. I would say that's fair.
So I've heard Clutchburger from the Bradley boys have told me about it. You've mentioned it, and I've obviously seen your numerous posts and everything. It seems like that's you and your son's like go-to, like when you come back in town, or actually it just seems like your go-to anytime you want something to eat. But when did you discover it, and why? I'm gonna go there. I have to go now because you've made it so what
when you're coming to Miami, are you coming soon?
I'm coming for the Great Smoke.
Oh, no kidding. I'm sorry. Yeah. So great. I definitely got to come down. So when COVID first kicked off, I would go around the neighbor, basically where I live, and I would walk around with my son. He'd be on his bike and I'd be walking around, and there was nothing else to do. So we'd just go kind of wander around because everything was closed. And like literally every place was closed, and except Clutchburger, which the owner, Steve Bradley, and some of his staff would be outside, and they'd be like, "Hey, let's go have a road soda," and they'd be selling beers and everything. So I was like, what, I really appreciate the hustle. And I'd have a beer, and they'd give my son a lemonade or something like that. And so every day I kept coming by and buying a beer or two, and buy my son a lemonade, and we just keep walking around. And And then, you know, he started doing a little bit more where you could have something to eat and everything else. And so just developed from there. And it's, you know, like anything, it's a service industry. Cigars are a service industry. And you know, I go there and they treat my son like gold, and they treat me really well. And I kind of have the run of the place, and they're just great people. You know, again, you always respect people that have heart. And I think in the cigar industry, that if you look at the people that have been successful, more than anything else, you know, you got to be smart. You got to have a lot of other qualities, but I think the number one thing is you have to have a lot of heart. And he definitely has a lot of heart, and I respect that. And I enjoy, you know, going there and having a burger and just having a great time. It's a great place. I can't wait till you go and check it out for yourself.
I'm stoked. I'm totally stoked. What a cool story too. I mean, I just thought they were just good burgers, but I mean, it's cool that you have that kind of that history with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Some of your own virtues in that little tidbit there too, Terence. Hardworking, good heart. Sounds familiar when I think about you. So,
Thank you.
So let's dive into tonight's major point, which is always brought to you by the people. Yeah, cigar people, the people who know everything about a lifetime of service. Protocol Cigars is more than just pool parties and good times. Well, maybe it is. But behind the fun, behind the good times, is the motivation for service, a motivation for giving back. From the original Protocol Blue to the latest release in the Lawman series, Bass Reeves, Protocol has always been about honor, passion, and yes, the people. It's what their life's work has been and always will be about. Power of the P, Protocol Cigars. So Terence, you know, I was talking to you a little bit about this before we kicked off live tonight and everything. And this is kind of my take on the whole, you know, on your time there at Aganorsa Leaf, which has been, I don't think I would love to get into a debate with somebody if they really wanted me to, but I don't think anyone would. It's been phenomenally successful, what you've done so far, and built on an already storied brand and a storied company, and really done some really great things there. But so it started with this complete rebranding. I mean, you know, talking about taking things down to the studs and kind of building stuff back up, and we talked endlessly, you know, on a few shows and a few opportunities where that was done at kind of almost a record pace and done extremely well by all accounts and everything. And so now we enter, I call this era of Aganorsa Leaf, embracing the Leaf identity, if you will, if you'll permit me a little bit. So it starts, I think, with the actual tobacco themselves. You know, you guys, you know, obviously produce fantastic tobacco in this cigar in particular that I'm smoking tonight, but other ones, the one that you're smoking as well. But one of the things that you guys are always trying to make things happen. And one of the kind of new iterations that you guys, the new spins that you guys put on some of your tobacco was the shade grown Corojo Maduro, which, I mean, feel free to correct me, Terence, that was pretty unique. I mean, I don't think that's been done before. I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, it was a new thing, and it's a lot of words, but every word's important. Shade grown, Corojo, Maduro, and you know, again, shade grown tobacco is usually associated with you think Connecticut, or you know, shade tobacco, light wrapper, and then it's a Corojo leaf, and then it's fermented in a way that produces that Maduro hue. So each word's important, and it creates a unique profile. And what we do is usually when you have tapado or shade grown tobacco, it kind of limits the sun exposure, obviously. But what we do is we take higher primings, which are a little bit thicker leaves, and we ferment them for longer, and with a deeper fermentation, and it produces that Maduro hue. So you have a dark wrapper grown under shade that's Corojo, and there's not, you know, most Maduro is San Andres or broadleaf, generally speaking, and so it's a unique wrapper.
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, I mean, I would say that with the lone exception of Rainier's broadleaf that he produced out of y'all's factory, the San Andreas has been kind of the go-to for the Maduro. Now, this obviously took, I'm sure, countless hours and, you know, dry runs and different, you know, obviously a lot of experimentation to get this particular leaf right. And then you guys launched it into two cigars. The I had the original release of the Aganorsa Leaf signature selection, but you guys did a Maduro as well, where that wrapper was placed on it, and then also the I guess the second in the would you call it, the Guardian of the Farm family, Terence? Was that how you
Yeah.
characterize the Night Watch?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you guys put that on two cigars, and everything. So what's been the reception for it? I mean, I think obviously those cigars are extremely popular, but what's been like the reception for it? Have people been able to, like, people try to pigeonhole it into oh, it tastes like this or tastes like that, or are they kind of embracing the uniqueness of what it is?
Yeah. Again, I think the average consumer likes it or they don't. They'll, like, if you, there's so many times at an event, somebody says, well, I'm not an expert. I just, I know I like this or like that. And that's really all that matters, quite frankly. So I think the taste profile is something people like, which is the key. Definitely initially you have kind of the more, the connoisseurs, they're kind of, oh, they want to try a new wrapper and they want to try something different, which is very important and good. And you want that kind of positive feedback from that group. But you need to kind of make your way down to more of the common consumer that is not knowledgeable on any of that, or reads about it, or even, quite frankly, cares. They just know they like it. And so that's the biggest thing for us, is that people seem to like it and they keep buying it. So that's how we judge success.
I mean, Terence, I would say you're an expert in Aganorsa products. I mean, would you say, you can certainly flip the question on me and ask me my take on it, but would you say that it kind of aligns, it's not too far off of that quote unquote Aganorsa profile, or do you think it really did take off to, take a new direction for the tobacco?
Well, I don't think it tastes like San Andres or broadleaf, so it certainly has its own unique characteristic. What we always try to do is that whatever blend we're making, we want it to be an expression of Aganorsa. So for instance, if like our Connecticut is not a Connecticut you've had before, or a Maduro or Habano or whatever it is. We want it to be like, oh, it's recognizably Aganorsa, but also within the style of whatever we're doing. And so with the shade grown Corojo Maduro, I think that adds a new dimension to what we do, or in a different dimension, but it also is still recognizably a product of ours, because the tobacco is all proprietary tobacco. And we want to make sure that, when you have an Aganorsa product, that what you're getting into. I always use the example of, if you go to a whiskey bar, there's all sorts of different types of whiskey, Canadian whiskey and Japanese whiskey, and there's peated scotch and non-peated scotch, but you're not getting vodka or gin or tequila. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But when you're there, you know what you're getting. And so that's kind of what we do, is that the realm you're in, but you're going to get a unique expression within that realm.
Yes. So, from the last time we spoke, it really has been that long, if you can believe it. But we lost a legend in this business, and you work with a couple of legends there at Aganorsa Leaf. But we lost our Arsenio Ramos, a really huge pillar for your company a few years ago. Now, was he involved at all, or did he pass before this kind of came to fruition, or was he involved with this project?
So he was involved with it because it took forever. Growing Maduro in Nicaragua is very difficult. It's not an easy proposition, and so it took them forever to develop this. So he was involved in its development. He unfortunately passed before we released it, but he was involved in the creation of it.
That had to be, man. To be a fly on the wall of those conversations, and it's unfortunate when people of his stature pass on, because there's so many questions left unasked and everything. That would be such an amazing thing to kind of pick his brain on, where he started, with, and fermentation was his thing,
Yeah, that was his area of expertise.
And so to see where, like, to have that conversation of like how where things started with him and early on in his career, and what he spent a lifetime doing in it, and you guys coming out with this fantastic, completely new proprietary process that was unlike anything else before. I mean, it's I'm sure it was exciting for him, so just as it's exciting for you as well. All right, so what's the yield like? I mean, and the reason I'm asking that, Terence, just, I mean, are you planning on y'all using it for any new additional products potentially in the near
No,
future?
so we actually use it on three things. We use it on the logos, the lunatic logos. We
That's
use
right.
on
I'm
Night
so
Watch.
sorry. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yes.
in the signature, which comes out a couple of times a year. We also have used on the Anniversario Maduro, which again is a one-off thing that comes, that we haven't done. It's not, the two regular lines that are on are the Night Watch and the Lunatic Locos. It's a low yield. It's not high. We're not going to be able to use it really much more than we are. And we still use primarily San Andres, which is a great tobacco that goes really well with Aganorsa Leaf. So we're happy to have that, and we continue to use that. And fortunately, we can get a little bit more of that than we can pull out of the shade grown Corojo Maduro.
So Terence, zeroing in on the Night Watch here just a little bit. So this was, the Guardian of the Farm has, critical success. It lands on the Cigar Aficionado, the heralded Cigar Aficionado top 25 list. It was on my top 10 list that year as well. It was fantastic. It's obviously done extremely well. So you guys come up with this new extension of the family. So we already talked about the wrapper. Other than the wrapper, the Night Watch itself, I mean, is there any similarity to that in the original Guardian of the Farm? Or
no, it's a radically different blend. It's a completely different thing. Which again is the idea. I mean, if everything is basically, it reminds me of this, then you're kind of like, oh well, just smoke that. So every blend that we create, we try to find a new consumer for. We try to make it something that our current consumers would enjoy, but like we don't want to pull somebody off. If you're smoking Guardian of the Farm Rambo, we don't want them to. I mean, they're not going to. Generally speaking, people have a certain amount of cigars that they'll smoke. They have a certain amount of time, a certain amount of budget, and they're going to have a certain amount of cigars. And so to pull them off something where they're smoking already of ours, you're just kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. So what we do is when we're coming out with a blend is we're hoping to bring in a new consumer, because that's the name of the game, is you need more consumers.
I think that's if I could, I was asked this. It's interesting this came up because I was asked this one earlier this week about what's the worst, in my opinion, which was, I couldn't believe I was being asked this, but not like I have any experience, but what, as a consumer, and from my opinion and being in media, like what could be the worst thing a cigar company can do? And I was like, well, it's probably cannibalize themselves, which they often do. And that's really interesting that you guys, while you guys are innovating, you're thinking about your current consumer and allowing them to embrace it, but you're also looking at finding those people who haven't discovered Aganorsa yet. I mean, it sounds like a winning formula. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I mean, that's really great that you all look at it that way. It's building on the foundation as well as capturing more of an audience too.
Yeah, of course you want to keep the people you have and make them happy, and you want to dance with the people that you went to the prom with, but you also want you need new consumers, and so you want to make sure that when you're coming out with a blend, is this just people that already like you who are going to smoke this, or is there some new people that you can bring on board? And that's really important, because if you're not, you're wasting a lot of time.
So speaking of new projects, so I am excited about the third member of the Guardian of the Farm family, the Cerebrus, that is coming. But I've seen it here and there. So is it released, Terence, or is it on its way?
No. So there was a sneak preview of it. Cigar.com has a 10 count box that I think they may have a few boxes left, but we did a limited run with them as a sneak preview. And then at the Great Smoke, it will be debuting and shipping nationally at the same time, of the three sizes that we're going to make. 6x44 Lonsdale, 5x54 Robusto, and 6x52 Toro. And so those sizes will be released. They'll be available at the Great Smoke in the Great Smoke grab bag, or whatever the pack you get with going to the Great Smoke. It'll be in there, and then it'll be available for sale then as well, and shipping nationally at the same time.
Sweet. So got to get in Terence's line early if we want to get that, because I'm imagining it's pretty limited.
So it's going to be I mean, it'll anytime you release something, it comes out in kind of drips and drabs. But it's a core line. It's going to be a core line brand.
Oh, it's going to be a core line.
Yes,
Okay.
It will be, which we're happy about, because it uses two unique tobaccos. One, it uses we're famous for Corojo 99, which we're the only major growers of Nicaragua, and then Criollo 98, which is more quintessential Nicaraguan tobacco. We use those in all our blends, and now we're going to be adding Corojo 2012. So the wrapper on it is Corojo 2012, and it also contains Medio Tiempo. So to use a Medio Tiempo in a blend that's a core line is impressive. Usually we only use it in limited edition stuff.
So I'm glad that the Corojo 2012 came up, Terence. So can I nerd out with you for a little bit for here? Have you smoked?
Sure.
Have you? You've obviously smoked the 99. You've probably been down to the factory several times. Have you smoked the 12 by itself, like just kind of like in an experimental way?
Yeah, it is a Fuma. In fact, we're gonna, like our Aganorsa experience events, we're gonna be incorporating it into that, where you can smoke a Fuma of that as well, just to show another dimension that we're adding to our signature flavor profile. It's not as sweet as 99. It's a little earthier, and it's got a little bit more body. So it's an interesting tobacco, and we're, again, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the consumer at home thinks. So, but the key is it blends well with what we do. We're always experimenting with seed varietals to see what's viable, and generally, it might, even if it's good, if it doesn't. I always use the example. If you I love lobster. I love peanut butter. Peanut butter doesn't go well with the lobster.
Yeah,
and so you need what you're developing, even if it's good, to be viable to incorporate with what you're already doing, and so that's the key thing, and the Corojo 2012 does that.
So I know you got a kiddo, Terence, and I've got two. So we've been around our respective wives when they were pregnant. So cravings aside, we're not talking about those crazy cravings of lobster and peanut butter. So if you know someone who's on it, they were probably about to give birth or something. But yeah, definitely not a good pairing. So
it's an unusual pairing. Most people
what would you say, like, if in your opinion, your palate, like, what were some of the defining characteristics of the heralded 99 versus the 2012 that you smoked?
So 99 is it's sweeter. It's a lot of salivation in the palate, especially on the sides of the mouth, that we call the gusher. Some tobaccos dry your palate. 99 makes you salivate. It has some spice up front and through the retrohale, and it has a nice lingering sweetness. The 2012 is a little bit earthier. It has more body to it. It's not as sweet. And again, it just, when you combine it with Corojo 99, Corojo 98, it just adds another depth to the blend.
Nice. I'm super excited about it. I think we may have talked about this 100 years ago, but we slept since then. I remember identifying very early on in my smoking career or whatever, that Corojo tobacco, specifically from Nicaragua, so Aganorsa, was just something that really hit my palate and I really enjoyed. And I knew that I really liked it. And so I started trying other varietals of it, and that's how I stumbled into, like, Honduran Corojo, of course, which is the one of the perennial versions of it. Julio Arroyo's done amazing things.
Amazing, yeah.
And other varietals of it as well. So I don't think I've ever, as my palate's developed over the years, I can still go back to Corojo forward blends, and still I tend to really enjoy them. In fact, I probably, now that I'm putting myself on the spot here, I don't think I can name one where I was just like, God, that just did not hit my palate well. Um, so I'm super excited about that. This kind of new. So the year thing, that's something else that comes up too. Obviously, Corojo 99. This isn't tobacco that's over 20 years old.
No. It's a
Um,
Cerebrus.
it's
So with Cuban the original Cuban Corojo kind of got decimated in Cuba in the 70s. It got blue mold and it almost wiped out Cuban tobacco. And so they started growing different variants that were resistant to mold, resistant to disease, had better yield, the flavor, and so they developed it for various qualities, and so there's Habano 2000 or 92. There's Carrera 98, Corojo 99, Corojo 2006, Corojo 2012, Habano 2000. There's a whole bunch of different varietals. And all that means is the year they started it came online where they started utilizing it. So Corojo 99 is that the year they started utilizing it was in 99. And we continue to use it. Almost nobody uses it. It has low yield compared to other varietals. And obviously that's a factor. I always say the tomatoes at the grocery store, it's not primarily flavor they're growing for. They're growing also for, it doesn't bruise too easily. It doesn't ripen too fast because, they got to make it from Florida to Ohio or wherever it's going. And so that's a factor in when you decide what you're going to grow. But because we grow on such a scale and have the capacity to do it, we grow 99 because we love the flavor so much.
How many? Again, I'm just going down this. I keep going down this path just because it's interesting to me. I mean, how many acres of Corojo are 99? Since that seems to be that's part of your, foundation and everything. How many acres of Corojo 99 are you growing at any one time down there in Aganorsa?
So they measure in manzanas, which is I think like 1.8 acres. I don't know. I think it's about 1.8 acres. I know altogether we do about 800 manzanas, so that's like almost 1,500 acres.
Wow.
But that's overall. That's everything. I forget, or I don't know off the top of my head how much of that specifically is Corojo. But it's a lot. Like Jalapa is almost all Corojo. We don't grow Criollo in Jalapa, so that part is all Corojo. And then in Esteli we grow some Corojo. So that 1,500, I would say, is about at least 60% Corojo.
Sorry to put you on the spot. It was just interesting to me. So back to the Cerebrus. And please feel free to just smack me here, Terence. I'm remembering a really old cigar that I felt like either had the name or had the symbol of it that might have been yours. I don't know. Am I completely crazy? Is this a resurrected thing or is this completely original? I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here.
It's an old trademark we have.
Okay.
And I think somebody else, we had to send them a cease and desist or something that was using it.
It might have been that one then. I mean, this was years ago. I just remember either the symbol or something.
Yeah. There was another one out there that we had to send a cease and desist for, but it's an old trademark we have, and it's just within the garden of the farm. Made sense for Cerebrus being the mythological, hound, three-headed hound that guards the gates of Hades. So, made sense to incorporate it into the Guardian brand.
Nice. Well, I'm super excited. I have a fondness for literature, and I have a fondness for. I don't know if you are as interested in Greek mythology as I am. I find it incredibly fascinating.
I was a classics major.
So I have in the spirit of you being one of the most well-read individuals I've ever met, not just in the cigar industry, just period. And I did a little research on the Greek mythology behind Cerebrus. Of course, is the three-headed dog who guarded the underworld at the service of Hades. He was actually a gift to Hades. So I've got four questions here for you about Cerebrus. Okay. Well, actually 3 now because I just gave away the 4th one. Why, that was foolish. What? Actually, this one's easy. Who killed Cerebrus in Greek mythology?
I didn't realize somebody killed him. I know Hercules wrestled him. He had to bring him back. That was one of the labors, 12 labors.
12 labors, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's what I guess it is kind of widely debatable. Everything that I've seen was that he killed. It might have been wrestled. Again, things lost in translation over the centuries.
It's been a while since I studied this. So
right.
I'm not saying, but I know one of the 12 laborers was Hercules took Cerebrus.
Do you know what the 3 heads of Cerebrus represent?
No. No, I don't. What do they represent?
So
I'm learning tonight too.
One of the heads represents the past, the other represents the present,
Mm-hmm.
and third and future. But it's specific, not just the elements of time though, it's the negative aspects of all those time frames. So it is the negative aspects of all those time frames in of all time that are represented by the 3 heads of the dog. So and then this is fun. And this one I found interesting. I actually didn't know this at all. I randomly knew about the past, present, and future. Didn't know about the negative aspect of it, but I just saw this when I was kind of fooling around with this particular set of questions and everything. Is Cerebrus evil?
Well, I don't think the ancient world had the concept of that the way we have it today. I think it was, he didn't let anybody leave that was supposed to be there. I mean, I wouldn't classify that as evil.
And you nailed it. Scholars say that while he's nominally known as the Hellhound, Cerebrus was actually not evil. He was simply a working dog. In fact, he was a gift to Hades, by whom I don't remember. But the idea was just that he was a working dog. That it was, and then the object was so that no one was supposed to leave. That was supposed to stay, and no one was supposed to enter that wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Hence the battle with Hercules. So yeah, fun facts for everybody. I found them interesting, so I hope everyone else had a little fun with that too. So
I learned something too.
But yeah, that last one was a head scratcher. I it seemed very obvious to me, but when I kind of dug into it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And you hit it, nail on the head, man. That's fantastic. So the kind of going along this lines of the embracing the identity of the leaf, as you guys have done over the last the last 2.5-3 years here. You've released 2 in the last couple of years. You guys have released 2 projects that have been fantastically and wildly popular, and with huge, like I said, critical acclaim and success here. The Supreme Leaf and the Rare Leaf projects. Now, the Supreme Leaf is a little bit more limited. Is it now 3 vitolas?
It's been 4, and 5 is coming.
5 is coming. So talk to us a little bit about what was the inspiration for coming up with the Supreme Leaf? And
well, I have to give Brian from Pravada Cigars credit for this. So Brian from Pravada, he kind of came traditional packaging. I have a concept that's more modern, and I think if you put it out there, it's going to bring attention to your brand from a new consumer, and so he's the one that came up with the design for it, and his idea was basically like, listen, let's have a great blend, but let's present it in a different way. And to his credit, it was very successful. It's funny because when it's got purple and orange in the band, and the band is kind of it's not like high gloss and embossed and all this stuff. It's kind of a simple band. And when I showed it to the sales team, they were like, this is terrible. It's going to ruin our reputation. It's not. And so I was like, oh, geez, this is because again, it wasn't my idea. So I kind of had to go back to him and be like, hey, why are we doing this again? And he was good enough to explain like why he did it the way he did it, and it's been a huge success for us. And every 6 months, a new size comes out of the blend, and it's been a home run for us. Everybody loves it. It just got Half Wheel gave it a 93. That was the highest rating Half Wheel's given a cigar in over a year, and it just brought a lot of new consumers to us. A lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I saw the Supreme Leaf and I've been smoking you guys ever since." So it's been successful in that way.
So, and there's not, and please, Terence, don't take this the wrong way, but because trust me, there's a compliment coming to this after I tell you about my first experience with the first Supreme Leaf.
No problem.
But we all know the folly of a lot of us as consumers. We're so excited about a project when the cigar lands, we buy it right off the truck, we smoke it, and
Sure.
It hasn't gotten acclimated and everything like that.
Sure.
That first Supreme Leaf was a poor experience for me. But from that first light, I'm not kidding, Terence. The first light, the first couple of puffs of the first Supreme Leaf that I smoked has to be the greatest start of any cigar I've ever smoked. I'm not kidding. I mean,
well, that sounds good.
Yeah, it blew me away. And after that, it didn't perform very well. And like I said, I chalked that up to exactly what happened, because what happened subsequently after that, by letting him rest, phenomenal experience all around. That's one
of the dangers of like I kind of always tell and it's kind of our fault in a way, is we build up the arrival so much,
right,
that when they finally ship, people are like, they just want to take them out and smoke them right away. And really, that's especially unless you're getting them out of the humidor somewhere, and even then, because if they just got there, they need to acclimate. But it's going from Florida. It's been delivered to us, from Nicaragua to Miami. It ships from Miami to which has got higher humidity and higher temperature, and it's shipping on a UPS truck to wherever it's going, and that place could be cold, and then that place is cold and more dry. And then it's going on another truck to someplace else that's got a whole nother. So the temptation, I completely understand, is to, light it up right away. And sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's not a big deal for whatever reason. But my general thing is, man, you let them sit, and validating. You see this as well. When we smoke them off,
full circle. Here we go.
Yeah, when we smoke them when they first land, sometimes we'll be like, man, this is off, and then we'll say, okay, why don't we let it sit in the humidor for a week, and then we'll let it sit in there for a week, and then we'll smoke it again, and then often we'll be like, okay, here we are, because it's acclimated, and that's really a key thing. And so it's difficult because you build up enthusiasm for its arrival, but then it arrives and you don't give it proper rest, and it's not an ideal experience.
Yeah, like I said, after I let it get acclimated, of course, it performed incredibly well. But the first few puffs of that particular cigar, that particular Vitola, I'd be hard pressed to find another cigar that started off that well. I mean, it was I don't know anything else way to better describe it. Just like it engrossed my attention. It was just in my palate. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is again, it's the whole thing is that, like, you have to have a great product. Obviously, the best cigar nobody's ever heard of, or is not, people aren't interested in, they don't buy. There's lots of great wines, there's lots of great bourbons, there's lots of great things of all time. But if the person doesn't pick it up and make the purchase, it doesn't really matter what it tastes like. And so it's that combination of being. I always say this is, people will be like, oh, I don't care what it, packaging and everything. I just care about the blend. It's like, okay, well, take the best cigar that person has ever smoked and throw a Joe Biden or a Hillary Clinton or a Trump or what band on there, and they don't think the same way about it. They like it more or they like it less, but they don't like it the same. And why is that? It's the same exact cigar. The cigar doesn't change, but now you present it in a different way, and that's really important. And so again, there's two ways of doing that. Obviously, there's a way of doing it in a genuine way, where you're presenting yourself in a way so that the person understands your company and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to present. And there's a dishonest way where you're just trying to trick them. And so people are kind of like, oh, well, marketing is kind of like a bad word, or it's a dirty word or whatever. But the reality is that you want the right consumer that's going to enjoy your product to smoke it. So you have to present it to them in a way that gets their attention, and they'll say, okay, I identify with that. I get that. I'll enjoy. I think that's something I'm going to enjoy. And so that's an important aspect of success, because if you present it in a way that doesn't reflect what it is, well, you're not going to be successful.
I mean, you were just talking about the branding and some of the early reactions that you got from it without the backstory and everything. But that was a risk for you guys. That was a risk because of,
Yeah, I'm telling you, the sales reps were like, this is going to be a disaster. It's going to ruin our company. I mean, they were like, they were completely terrified. But the thing with the cigar industry is, anytime you do anything different, cigar industry in the best and worst sense is like high school, and that everybody knows it. We all know each other. So if you fail, you're failing in front of everybody, right? And so that's different than failing when you don't, and I think regardless of what people say, they care what everybody other thinks, that like you care what your compatriots or the other people in the industry think of you. And so there's this concern of like, oh my God, if this fails, people are going to think differently of me, or they're going to think, and so you're to take a risk is a little bit harder, I think, generally speaking, because there's this fear of failing in front of the people that you know and respect. And so it's a little stifling in some ways to innovation for that. So you have to be willing to take that risk and have everybody be like, boy, you blew that project, or what a terrible idea that was. You have to be willing to face all the people and kind of eat crow. But if you can do it, if you can make calculated risks and do things in a different way, there's a high upside to it. And I think that's the case with the Supreme Leaf, is that it looks different, but it definitely catches people's attention. And I would say most people actually like how it looks, but even those who don't, I know people that like think that's our best blend we've ever made, and they smoked it because they hated the packaging. I know Kevin from New England Cigar Militia, he was like, I bought that because I wanted to hate it, because I hated how it looked so much, and then I smoked it and I loved it. So I guess
jokes on him.
Whatever gets you to smoke it is the key. I mean, it's better to get people to try it and be intrigued than to be like, oh, well, yeah, that just looks like another cigar, and it could be a great cigar, but it just doesn't capture their attention.
So in a direct contrast or counter to that point, Terence, I thought the branding for Rare Leaf was phenomenal. I thought it really popped. I really liked it. It kind of elevated what y'all have been building the last few years with this Leaf is our strength concept. And I love the label. I love the way it sits. I love the contrast of the actual wrapper and the label itself. And I mean, the branding was great on that. I mean, were you involved with that at all, or?
Yeah. So the idea with that was more to have something that, again, it's red, which is a different color and everything, but it was meant to be a little bit more classic. So we were trying to kind of have best of both worlds, have it be a little bit more classic looking, but also have it stand out. And I think we captured that with the color scheme, where you look at it and it doesn't look like just another cigar, but it also is more traditional in its presentation.
Now, there was a specific concept around the blend too, which makes it the Rare Leaf, right? Now it is regular production, but it's going to be it's limited in terms of kind of the
So the issue with the issue with a limited edition is when people always ask, they're like, hey, do you ever have like a crop or some sort of vintage that has a unique flavor and it's different than everything else? Farmers hate that. What farmers want is they want the same thing over and over again,
right,
in large quantity. That's what they want, because that's how they are successful. They can make the same thing over and over again. They can count on it. But that does happen. You get stuff that tastes different. You have certain lots on certain farms that have a unique characteristic, and so when you have that, you can make a limited edition where it truly highlights those tobaccos. Those tobaccos are heavily concentrated in the blend, and you have a flavor profile that really accentuates them. But then, what happens is they sell out, and again, you work, retail. You know how it is. Oh, I love that cigar. I'd like to get a box. Oh, it's gone now. What do you mean it's gone? And so they're upset, and so now they're looking for it someplace else, or they're whatever. It's an issue, and then you're calling us and saying, hey, how come we can't get more of this? People like it. So then what's your choice? So then you make more, and when you make more, at some point you have to start diluting it. And then what happens is, oh, this isn't the same as last time. How come, and then you're mad, oh, you guys diluted the blend. And so those are kind of challenges. So with Rare Leaf, what we decided to do is we said, okay, let's limit access to it. And so with Rare Leaf, we limit it to our Aganorsa Select partners who are only about 10% of our overall retail base. Retail partners, and so it's made constantly, but because only a certain amount of our retail partners can receive it, we're able to utilize those tobaccos and keep them concentrated, but produce it consistently. Now, if you order 100 boxes of it, you're not going to get those right away, but over time you'll get them. And so it gives the retailer the ability to have a blend that not everybody has, that they can continually sell over and over again to their consumer.
Nice. So you and I tend to gravitate towards the same vitolas, this particularly an Aganorsa product. So I'm anxious to hear what your favorite vitola in the Rare Leaf was.
The Torpedo. The 54 in that blend tends to work the best for whatever reason. I thought the Toro was the best one before we did the Torpedo, and with the Torpedo, it kind of channels the smoke and it made it more intense. And I love personally a Corona Gorda. I like 6x46. That's about my favorite size for cigars. And for me, that was not the best expression of the Supreme. But what I always say is it doesn't matter what I like. I mean, what does the consumer likes? We make 8x80s. I'll tell you right now, I don't smoke 8x80s. But except to validate occasionally. When I pull the short straw, I got to validate one once in a while. We have a customer base that likes that, and we make an incredible expression in that size, and the people that smoke it like it. And so my job is not to be like, okay, well, I like this, therefore you should smoke it. It's to listen to the consumer and make something that's really they're really going to enjoy. Based on their feedback.
I really enjoyed the Robusto particularly. So that was this prime example of why I would be a terrible attorney. I was leading you down that path and I didn't know the answer to the question. So
no, I mean that's the fun. I mean, yeah, like we the Robusto, the new size coming is a Robusto, but it's got a little COVID weight on it. The original Robusto is 5x52. This is going to be a 5x54. So it's a little bit thicker. But I've heard the Robusto, I've heard the Corona Gorda, I've heard every size. And that's part of the fun. Is that one of the things we really push is to have our consumer trust their palate and make their decision and tell us. We shouldn't tell them what they should like. They should tell us. And if we hear that answer often enough, we should listen to it and build on it. And that's really the way to do it, to me. I mean, if you're going to tell people, oh, you have to like this because I like it. I mean, that's not overall, I think going to be very successful.
So, speaking of validation, we do that in the retail game too. We always got to try things that we're not in our comfort zone too. And you mentioned how the 8x80 isn't in yours. I'm, as everyone in my audience knows, I'm not a big gauge smoker. So, but 60s are definitely not as definitely not as have not as low favor with me as I used to be, because I've smoked 70 gauges now. but speaking of validation, one of the 70 gauges that I did enjoy and was the 770 XT box press that you guys did for the JFR line. Is that still in production? I haven't.
Yeah. Yes. Again, and one of the things that, in fairness to Big Ring Gauge, that when Big Ring Gauge first came out, it was kind of like the manufacturers, like, these gringos don't know what the hell a cigar is supposed to taste like. And they just threw more tobacco in there. They didn't really blend them, I think, towards the size. But when you actually blend to the size, I'll tell you, our Torch 4 3/4 by 70, the XT 770, the taste profile is excellent, and they burn cooler because it's bigger ring, and so you can have the flavor that's just as complex and intense as a small ring gauge and a big ring gauge if you blend to the size. I don't like something that big because it's just uncomfortable for me. But the actual flavor profile, it can be annoying because, like I said, the 770 Torch, or excuse me, 4 3/4 by 70 Torch, that size to me is the best tasting of the bunch, in terms of flavor and complexity, despite being as big as it is.
Yeah, I like those box press 70s just because, when you box press it, there's the tobacco that's removed to create more airflow and everything. It just made for a smoother draw, which made it a much more pleasant experience. But like you said, it was still, because it was so big, it's still cool. And so, like, that's the, people ask me about my preferred draw all the time. And I like a little bit of resistance, because if you have too much coming at you, it one, it can overwhelm the palate, and then two, it can get bitter really fast.
Yeah, so
it's a bit hot.
It's a big debate that we have all the time, is that, like, there's definitely like a desire for a very loose draw. A lot of people really like that. They like that loose, easy draw. That's not really a traditional draw. So what do? Do you make it looser, to accommodate, or do you keep it, so these, again, this is where it's all about trying to figure out, what are you trying to do? So, we tend to have a more classic draw. There's more resistance. We don't do a loose draw. But that's always a debate. It's like, hey, well, maybe we should do that. Maybe that's what the consumer wants.
Not to backpedal too much in our conversation, but one, I'm interested. We spent some time talking about what I was smoking, and I was so rude. What are you smoking tonight? Is that the cigar that you had displayed on our opening, or?
No, so I initially had a Rare Leaf Robusto, but I finished it. So now I'm smoking. Yeah, the cigar that we were showing off on in the beginning it's a Lancero of the Aniversario Corojo, which we just rebranded. It was the Casa Fernandez Aniversario. Now it's the Aganorsa Leaf Aniversario.
Nice.
I don't know how well you can see it here, but nice Lancero. I'm not a big Lancero guy because they kind of require a lot of attention generally, but like when I do enjoy them when I have the opportunity to sit back and relax and smoke one. And this is it's not really a Lancero. It's 7.5 by 40, which it's not a traditional Lancero size. It's also box pressed. So but it's a great expression of Aganorsa. I highly recommend. Again, Lancero is if you build your company on Lanceros, you're going out of business. But it's a delicious cigar, and I try to enjoy one as often as I have the time.
So to piggyback on that, our discussion about draw and everything. So that's kind of been again, not to go too far back in the conversation, with the original Guardian of the Farm, like my Rambos that I love so much, that you love as well. Yes. with that closed foot, and the way that draws, it's fantastic. It's got the right amount of resistance. I really enjoy it. The Night Watch I've found, and I mean, I don't know. I'm anxious to hear your kind of experience. It seems like a firmer draw, because again, the blend's completely different. We talked about that already. Has that been your experience as well? That is it just more packed of tobacco than the original, or?
I don't think it's so much as packed as that. It's a heavier blend with especially the shade grown, the Corojo Maduro, and so it's again, like you always say, like that classic kind of Connecticut that burns very easy, with lighter tobaccos. You're using heavier tobaccos, ligeros and visos, and the Corojo Maduros, a thicker priming. So it takes a little bit more pull on it to kind of get it flowing. And I think that's the difference between those two.
Yeah, I really like that wrapper on the signature that we were again, not to go too far back in the conversation, but man, I just love these Rambos so much. It's just
Me too.
it's fantastic. It just
I
really
like the cut of your jib.
So kind of going into the keep talking a little bit more about the rare leaf, and again, this is my self-proclaimed kind of era of Aganorsa leaf, and identifying and embracing with the identity of the leaf and everything. Are we going to see more continued projects where the leaf is always the focus with Aganorsa leaf? I get that, but like, in terms of the branding as well as the blending, are we going to continue to see that going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, the thing is this: we're promoting the leaf being our strength, and so again, the Anniversario is a great example. It's like, oh well, like we have retailers with a full shelf of our product, but unless you're familiar, you don't necessarily realize that because it's not always highlighted in the product. And so it's really important for us that when the consumer sees our product on the shelf, they identify it. Number one, oh, that's Aganorsa leaf, and two, that has a particular meaning to them. And so if everything looks completely different, it's hard to kind of capture that. I always give Nick Perdomo a lot of credit. You look at a shelf of Perdomo, it's all Perdomo. You're not confused and think it's something else. You recognize immediately it's Perdomo. And so we're trying to work towards that as well, where you see the Aganorsa on the shelf, whether it's JFR or Aganorsa Leaf or Guardian, there's something that really makes it clear that it's an Aganorsa product. And so that's a process, and we're still got a ways to go, but I think we're improving that.
I think that's one of the things you mentioned Perdomo. I think that's one of the things about Perdomo and Aganorsa that's similar in its essence. Like, I think there are a lot of blenders and a lot of factories that have that signature flavor, right? You can tell a lot of times, like,
sure.
I've mentioned it, like Eric at Lazona, he has him and Hector have this kind of the signature, the stamp that kind of goes with some of their blends that you can pick up, and it's one that I certainly enjoy quite a bit. There are certain characteristics of like the My Father factory and stuff, but like when you get on some of these larger scale companies like My Father, who does a lot for not just themselves but a lot of other places, and you guys certainly do the same too. You guys make a lot of blends for a lot of different people and everything. I feel like Perdomo and Aganorsa kind of stand sort of at the top when it comes to that signature flavor component. Like there's again, it doesn't make them, it's not monotonous and it's not monotone, but there's a really, really defined flavor component that really speaks out on all y'all's blends, and it's like, oh, this is Aganorsa, and that in a I guess, again, as we were talking about different palates for different people, for me that's definitely a positive. Would you agree with that characterization? Or
Yeah, no, that's the idea. Again, there's definitely different. I was like, for instance, like Plasencia are good friends of mine. Plasencia, you want North Korean tobacco? They probably have it. Like they really have every type of tobacco, and they can go. And there's advantages to that. Like that's a benefit as well. Again, it's like you have a bar that's a whiskey bar, and you have a bar that just has a ton of everything. And there's advantages of both of those things, right? So you go to the bar that has a ton of everything. You know that anybody that walks in is there's gonna be something for them, and so there's a benefit to that. For us, we're not for everybody, we have the signature profile. If you like that,
you're the whiskey bar. You're the whiskey
bar.
Yeah.
We're the whiskey bar, and if you like that, we have something that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, and you're going to love. And so we kind of focus on that realm that we're good at, and we stay there. And like I said, there's advantages to doing both of those things. But that's our path, is that it's like we have a signature flavor, and you know the realm you're getting into when you have Aganorsa. And you're gonna have the opportunity to have a lot of different expressions of that. But it's not radically, it's not something so different that you're like, you don't relate it to the other things you've had.
Absolutely. And to your credit, to Terence, or to Aganorsa's credit with this, like, that's not something they've ever been, and not that anyone should, and I can't really think of anyone example that really, well, I can, but I'm not going to necessarily point fingers, but like where people kind of shy away from the fact that they have a signature, and they're like, no, everything's completely different, and then like, no, it's really not, and it's not a bad thing, and like that's what I was saying, like I think Agnorsa's really embraced it in a really, really amazing way, and you guys have built this incredible history on it, and it's like you said, it's not for everybody, but it is for the people that it's for the whiskey bar people. It's perfect.
Yeah, you just have to kind of recognize, be objective, and look and say, what are you good at, what do you do well, and how do you and then run with that. And that's really the thing. And some people can go in a lot of different directions, and some people are really good at certain things. And so for us, we have this signature flavor, and if you like that, you're going to love what we do. And if you don't, that's okay too. And you could, there's a lot of great cigars out there, and there's other things you can have. Anytime, like, somebody asked me recently, they do your elevator pitch for me, like if you were trying to get me to smoke the product. I'm like,
oh god,
I'm not going to do that. Like, listen, let me find out if you're for us. And if we're not selling yachts. Like, we want people to enjoy the product, so they come back, smoke it again, and then go and with passion tell other people about it. Be like, oh, Aganorsa is my favorite cigar. I love it. You've got to try it. It's excellent. If you like Nicaraguan cigars with like a Cuban influence, you're going to love them. And we want, that's what we want. We want people to be passionate about. I don't want to sell somebody something they're not going to enjoy. I don't want to sell, like, if they love really mild cigars or really full cigars, or there's other brands that do an incredible job of those expressions of tobacco. And great, go smoke them. And maybe at some point you'll either come down or you'll go up, and we'll be more, we'll be more in your flavor profile. But you buy let's say you buy a box of cigars, you don't like it. I've wasted everybody's time. I've wasted your time. I've wasted your money. And what did we get out of that? We want people running around saying, oh, you got to have Aganorsa. That's what we want. So we're focusing on the people that we're right for. And that's important, because there's nothing where I'm telling you, oh, hey, should I try this? Oh no, I had it. It was terrible. Like, you don't want that person you don't want to force that person into smoking your product if it's not for them. And so that's, we're just really focused on doing what we do well, to the best of our ability, and focusing on those consumers that we're compatible with. And then for everybody else, we wish them the best, enjoy whatever they're smoking. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll be right for you, but if we're not, that's okay too.
Absolutely. Well, Terence, I really appreciate kind of this walk down the last kind of 24 months or so. Since it's been a while since we've had you on, and I really, really appreciate you hopping on tonight. We've got a few more segments to go here, but a lot of great stuff been going on in Aganorsa, and obviously some good stuff to come and everything. It's probably the silliest question I'll ask you tonight. For as long as I've known you, before when you were with Quesada, and now with Aganorsa, you seem to be one of those professionals in this industry that really do love what they're doing. I mean, and are not just love what they're doing, but also having fun, and with their job and everything. Do you I mean, does that ever get difficult for you? Like, does anyone ever, like, does the fun ever go away? Or have you just enjoyed every moment of this journey with?
Yeah, I mean, listen. So anything you do where you have to do it if you golf for a living, never, if you love golfing, but when you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling your best and you have to golf, that's a job. So anything you have to do when you're not feeling up to it is a job. And so I'm absolutely blessed to do what I do. And I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what, I don't think I have enough problems. Maybe Terence has some problems he can throw on me and I can take him over. I don't think that's common. So I never try to take anything that I'm going through or I'm involved in and put it on to our retail partners or customers. And this industry, for me, the cigar is just it's just a pathway to good times and experiences and fun and human connection, and that's what it's for. And I wouldn't do this otherwise. There's easier ways to make a living, quite frankly, than cigars. And so what I enjoy about it and what I never take for granted or stop appreciating is that we're able to utilize this product to connect and to have, again, imagine you're in a bar, or you're in a cigar shop. Somebody, I'm sure this has happened to you. I mean, you could tell me if I'm wrong. Hey, oh, you like that? Here, try this. Have you had this cigar? You'll really like it. Like, that is so normal. We don't even think about that. Imagine you're in a bar and you're having a drink and somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, what are you drinking? Oh, you like bourbon? Well, how about I'm going to buy an old fashioned. I think you'll really like that. You'd think the guy was coming on to you or something, but who knows? Maybe that's your thing. But the thing is, you think they're after something. You think there's like some angle.
Right.
But with cigars, you're like, oh yeah, that would be completely normal. And so that's that aspect of it, I truly appreciate. And I try to, when I walk into a shop, or interact, or I try to make their day better, I hope, through their interaction with me. And whatever we sell them is obviously we're in business, and if we don't do well, I'll be looking for another job. But that is always secondary to trying to utilize the cigar to create that experience.
I'm going to use this question because it's actually something that I didn't ask initially when we initially talked in a couple of interviews, but I'm going to use it to piggyback onto another question after our fun segments here in just a second. But you kind of not hinted at, but you kind of skirted around it when you were talking there just for a moment ago. When, was there, like you said, there's easier ways to make a living. When you left Quesada, was there any doubt that you were not staying in the cigar industry? Was that a given? You were staying in the cigar industry, or was there any thought to maybe exploring other opportunities?
No, I mean, my plan was to stay in the cigar industry. I mean, I was at a stage, I'm 40 now. I was, I think, 36 then. And I kind of viewed it as like, it was the last opportunity, not the last opportunity, but it was the last time I was going to probably be amicable to taking on a risk of taking something and trying to take it to the next level. I was blessed in the sense of, I talked to some companies that were established, and I could have been a lineman for the team or a receiver. I wanted to be quarterback. If I do it again, I don't know if that's as important to me now. But at the time, it was like, well, I'd like to be in charge of creating something that's special and being held accountable for it. Because again, it's like the quarterback. When you win, they get more of the credit than they deserve, and then when they lose, they get more of the blame than they deserve. And so that was appealing to me, and so my goal was definitely to stay in the business.
Yeah, I remember you saying that those things before, how this was the time in your life where you could still kind of take that, and it's completely paid off, Terence. I mean, I don't, like I said, I would love to debate someone different if they viewed it differently, but what you and your phenomenal team have built there on an already storied brand, that I think just needed, I mean, quite frankly, I just think needed the right storyteller, and you were that person. And
no, I've been blessed, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad that it's worked out as well. And again, listen, it was a success as 1,000 fathers, failures an orphan. I mean, it takes everybody, man. You smoke that cigar, you take the band off, and it tears the wrapper. You don't go, oh, everybody did a great job at this, and there's this. You go bad cigar, and so it takes everybody to be successful, and I never forget that. And there's, from the factory to our sales team to our retail partners, it takes everybody to make it work. And so, this industry, it makes you you have to have humility, because it's not easy, and there's a lot of things you don't control, and you need good people to make it possible.
So what a wonderful way to help me with my segue here, Terence. You mentioned quarterbacking. So that takes us into our One Must Go segment. And as always, it's brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, and the highly acclaimed Atabey and Byron lines. So smoke one today and start living united. So Terence, I know that you've participated in this segment before on Cigar Coop Prime Time. This is the first time you'll be participating on ELOSOFUMARTAKES. So just a quick refresher on this. I'm going to give you three things, and one's got to go. It's that simple. So we're going to focus on someone you have tremendous amount of respect for, quarterback Tom Brady, who just announced his retirement from the game of football. It is the first time in 20 plus years, 2 decades, the last time that when we knew a league without Tom Brady. You and I were in secondary school, I guess.
I was in college. I remember his first game. I remember they were 0-2, and they played the Colts, and he was starting that game. I remember that game.
Unbelievable run that he had, an incredible career. And as John Carney has pointed out, actually he has almost 3 Hall of Fame careers. If you break down his stats, it's pretty incredible. So we all know about his successes. So I wanted to take a look at his failures, if you want to call them that. He lost 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Big whoop considering how many he won. But he lost 3 Super Bowls, and he had, I would say, 3 very impactful performances in those Super Bowls, but yet he lost. So I'm going to give you the 3 losses, and I'm going to give you the stat lines for each of them, and you got to pick one of those Super Bowl losses that's just got to go. Okay.
When you say got to go, what do you mean? I mean,
so in terms of you think it's Brady's performance was the least impactful out of all these. I think one's going to be very obviously going to stay. I would imagine, but if you have a counterpoint to it, I would love to hear your argument. As I always, I always love and enjoy your counterpoints. So let's start from the first Super Bowl loss that he did, which was in 2007, which was the first loss to the Giants. The David Tyree helmet catch. Everyone knows how it ended. That game, Tom Brady went 29 for 48 for 266 yards in passing, 0 turnovers, but only 1 touchdown, and he lost 17-14 in a defensive battle. His second loss, again, to the Giants, we know Coop is smiling somewhere with this. In 2011, he again, wonderful, almost miracle catch, not quite with a helmet.
Yeah, Mario Mayhem,
Yes, down the sideline, 27 for 41, so less completions, significantly less attempts.
Wes Welker dropped the ball, though. You can't catch the ball, too.
Exactly. 276 yards, did throw a pick in that game, but he did throw 2 touchdowns. He lost 21-17. And then, of course, the loss to the Eagles, which he did fumble in that last drive, so he did have 1 turnover, but he did have an incredible.
He had 500 yards.
28 for 48, 505 yards passing, no picks, 3 passing touchdowns, lost 41-33. And considering what happened the year before with the legendary comeback against the Falcons, everybody just knew in that last drive that he was going to come back and win. And of course, unfortunately, he didn't. But so which performance has got to go?
No, the first has got to go. The first has got to go. Yeah, because I'll tell you why. He overthrows Randy Moss after the Tyree catch, and they score the touchdown. So in the second one in 2011 or 12 or whatever it was, yeah, it was the
2011 season, yeah.
Yeah. Welker drops that ball. Welker catches the ball, the game's over. So you can't blame Brady on that one. And then when you throw 500 yards,
you got to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's
you got to
win the game. I mean, your offense can't be held responsible for that. So I would say the first one is the one that's got to go.
I remember a game. I live in Cowboy country. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I live in Cowboy country, and I remember the shootout that Peyton Manning had with Tony Romo in a Broncos Cowboys game, the season before Tony Romo's exited the league and everything. And Romo threw for 500 plus yards, threw like 5 touchdowns, and lost the game, and everyone wanted to blame him. And I was like, no, guys, I'm sorry. You throw that, you have that kind of performance, you win the game. Like you need something needs to happen. So
he found his true calling in the booth. He's a great booth announcer.
Yes, no, 100%. I like him. A lot of people, some people don't. I think he's phenomenal in the booth. So
I mean, he's the best.
So the 2007 loss, back to Brady here for a second, the one that's got to go. And that was the end of the try for the perfect season, right? Since the Dolphins did it. I mean, not that you're close with Tom Brady or anything, but if you had to speak for him, do you feel like that was his greatest failure in his career, of all the successes and all the acclaim, all the MVPs?
Well, again,
that's got to be the one that eats at him. That's got to be the one that eats at him, right?
Failure is a strong word, but yeah, I think that's probably the hardest one. The
toughest pill to swallow.
I think it's the toughest pill to swallow. And again, because Coop, like the Philly game, Philly beat the Patriots. They played the win. They made plays. Honestly, the defense played great. I mean, they just put the Nick Foles put the ball where it needed to be. I mean, I watched that game and I'm like, man, they got beat. I mean, it was a great game and they played hard. The two Giants games are really Patriots failures. I mean, the Giants, they just weren't that. They weren't that good. Like Asante Samuel, kids in the game, the ball goes right through his hands, and then a guy catches a ball off his head. I mean, and then they miss Moss, who's wide open, and then the second one, Welker catches that ball and the game is over. I mean, that's it. It's over right there. So I feel the Patriots blew those games against an inferior team. It's like Tyson Douglas. It's like Mike Tyson didn't train for that fight, and he got beat by a guy who had the best day of his life, and he
literally
didn't train
the best day of his life. Yeah,
and he didn't train for it. Like he's not a great fighter. He had the right time, and Tyson didn't train for the fight. And so those two Giants victories are the Patriots kind of gifted them. They didn't play to their potential in either of those games. In the Philly game, I thought the Patriots played really well, and the Eagles played better. And so I'm more comfortable with that victory.
Yeah. Yeah, and that you need two miracles in order to beat the arguably the greatest team in the league at the time. It's not. I don't think it's an indictment on Brady at all. So, no. All right. Well, I appreciate you going. I know those were not wonderful memories to relive, but
terrible memories.
But I thought it was
what a horrible show this is.
But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting kind of examination of what has been.
I think Coop put you up to this. Coop put you up to this.
No, when I told him about it though, he loved it. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he would. But I was like, well, it's 3. It's the perfect number. It's the one must go. You got to have 3 options. So, because I thought about his victories, but I'm like, well, now I have to cherry pick.
Yeah.
So, this one was a little bit easier. So, as always, this was our One Must Go segment, brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, and the highly acclaimed Atabey and Byron lines. Smoke one today. Start living united. So this goes into our next fun segment, which has been a fantastic segment. I've really enjoyed this. We've done this for over a year now, and we've had some wonderful, wonderful opportunities to spotlight some incredible charities. This started on my birthday a little over a year and a half ago, and each week I asked my guests to bring forward a nonprofit or charity of their choice to highlight. And this one was this is a charity that we've talked a little bit about on this show, and I'm really excited about the reason that was brought forth. So Terence, you chose to select and spotlight Sepsis Alliance, which, speaking of our friend Coop, has been a charity of near and dear to his heart. He has donated a lot of proceeds to it. We've raised a lot of money for Sepsis Alliance on this show as well. What was your reasoning when I gave you this opportunity? What was the reason for picking Sepsis Alliance?
Well, good old Coop, God bless his heart. He has the airport photo contest, which he's done in the past, and I try to terrorize him about. And then this coming year, he's made it a charity for Sepsis Alliance because he suffered from it and he almost died from it. So I felt, I give him such a hard time about the photo contest that we can at least raise some money, hopefully, for Sepsis Alliance. I know it's near and dear to his heart, and it's something that's important to him. And that was kind of the thinking behind it.
It's a fantastic organization. You can check a little bit more about it. I'm going to have the link in the show notes here. I'm trying to get it into the chat. For some reason, Facebook isn't cooperating. Thank you very much, Facebook.
Thanks for nothing, Facebook.
No kidding. This is something that a lot of, we talk about this quite a bit. We've talked about this quite a bit with Sepsis Alliance, and the fact that sepsis it's not talked about. When they say someone has died from complications from surgery, 9 times out of 10, it's septic shock. It's not responding well to treatment of whatever kind, infections, and it's septic shock that unfortunately that people go through, and they die from it. And you don't have to go through surgery to go through sepsis, as Coop unfortunately found out. And it can be a number of reactions to a number of different things. And it's important to know the signs, and you can learn more about the signs there on sepsis.org. And it's a great organization. I encourage you all to learn about it, and encourage you to donate as well tonight. And Terence, as we do every week on this show, my wife and I have pledged to make a small donation in my guest's honor to their charity of choice. So Terence Reilly will have a donation in his honor later this evening from myself and my wife. So thank you for bringing this up. I really, really appreciate it. So. Have you, not to bring down the mood or anything, but have you had anyone that you're close to that's suffered from sepsis? Or
no, thank God. No, like I said, the idea was, I know it's a cause near and dear to William Cooper's heart, and so that was my reasoning for picking it.
Awesome. Well, got a few more questions here, Terence, for us tonight before we kind of close things out with our curveball segment at the end of the night. And this was something, like I said, I was piggyback off your transition from Quesada to Aganorsa and your decision to stay in the cigar industry to kind of ask this question. It's the cigar industry, you really did make a leap. This is two different worlds. Quesada is based out of the Dominican Republic. Prominent in the pro cigar community there, and you come over to Nicaragua, which is, nothing hotter than Nicaragua in the industry in terms of country's production over the last decade and a half, I would say. But that being said, what was the most notable change for you going from a Dominican-based manufacturer to a Nicaraguan-based manufacturer?
Well, again, we like Quesada obviously is based in the Dominican, but we did Casa Magna and several brands with Plasencia. So I went to Nicaragua often enough, and then I was familiar with it. I think it had more to do really with just the opportunity that the company presented, more than the fact that it was Nicaraguan or anything else. I mean, it was, they were a brand that were making a lot of cigars that were highly acclaimed for other people. They themselves had won several awards and been, well established in that sense. But it just, there wasn't the enthusiasm for them that there was for the brands they made for other people. And to me, that as I always say, it's like, imagine people were like, oh yeah, Ashton and JC Newman, amazing. What's Fuente? That doesn't make any sense. That's a disconnect. And so for me, I saw that as an opportunity, because if the company's not making good cigars, I go to the factory 3-4 times a year. You're really not going to change anything in that sense. So I saw it as a sleeping giant that was doing a high quality product that was competitive with anything else that's out there, because we're vertically integrated from seed to ash, was at a better value point than almost anything else out there, but people didn't know about it. And so to use something you said that was really meaningful to me, the last time I think it was the last time I was on, you're like, you made JFR exciting. And so yeah, it was like, okay, so I can hopefully bring attention to this company, and that's my abilities, and that's what they're missing. And so that was really the attraction.
You did. I mean, I didn't think that was, I mean, with seriously, not trying to be disrespectful. I mean, I just didn't think that was possible, and you did. You made it a focal point. You didn't. The thing about JFR is, like, I mean, you could have easily said, oh, focused on the Aniversarios, and one of your personal favorites was the Buena Cosecha, and I remember that, talking about that cigar, and we could have talked about all those things, and this was my mistake, Terence. I mean, I did in the first couple of interviews. I went back and I remember, I was like, man, talking about reflecting on failures, right? I talked about these other brands that y'all work for, and I was like, that's, in a way, that was just unfair, because we're here to talk about what you were doing with Aganorsa, and you don't work for those other brands. Not directly. I mean, you work with some of those people, and you have great friendships with Rainier, for example, that I know. But that's, I mean, what you've done and what you've accomplished with it. Again, I said this a few moments ago, but it's been fantastic. And yeah, you made JFR exciting. You made it, part of the Aganorsa family, and its own, and it's right there alongside all these other, quote unquote, higher profile brands that y'all do. And that's what I found the most impressive about your work, especially early on. So, I mean, do you miss, I mean, have you been back to Pro Cigar, the festival, at all? Or, I mean, do you miss it?
No, I haven't been since 2017 was the last year I went. I do miss it. I like I said, I enjoyed working there very much. I loved working with my uncle. I love Pro Cigar. I have no regrets in whatsoever. Unfortunately, I travel so much to go to the Pro Cigar Festival, which would really just be a vacation more than anything else.
Right.
I haven't had the opportunity to go back and enjoy it. I would like to get back there someday, and just, like I said, hang out. It would be a vacation for me. The first year was hard, definitely. I mean, we used to go over at Quesada. We would have a poker day after the whole thing was over, and that was one of my favorite days of the year. We just hung out and played cards and eat chicharron and have sancocho. It was one of my favorite days of the year. But I haven't had the opportunity to go back that I can justify as anything other than a vacation. So I haven't been back, but a lot of good memories, and I wish nothing but the best for all of them.
Well, you do work pretty tirelessly, so a well-deserved vacation one of these years for you to make your return back. So
someday.
I mean, so I know that the last couple of years it's been canceled because of COVID and everything. I mean, I was thinking about this. Have you had the opportunity to participate in Puro Sabor?
Yeah, I saw it the first 2 years I went to it. I was there in 18 and 19.
Okay.
Wait, 18, 19, and 20, I guess. I think it was in 22. But I was there the first few years, and it was very successful, and I think it was getting better. And unfortunately, just COVID kind of threw it off. So I hope to see it come back. I think they were doing a good job of making it better every time I attended, and it's a great festival. You get to see a lot of great companies, and I'd like to see it be back in the rotation.
Yeah, we certainly all do. For sure. So we mentioned, we talked about this at the top of the show here, Terence. This is my last question before our curveball segment. And again, I always take this time of the evening to thank my guests. You got a long week ahead of you. They're all long weeks. And for you to spend a Sunday evening with me talking about cigars and everything, I know it is your job, but like you said, it's not a job if you enjoy it. But I still do appreciate your time greatly for
my pleasure.
The time you've given me. So thank you so much. So we talked about this at the top of the show. I'm going to be in Miami here in a couple of weeks, as are you, for the Great Smoke. And we were talking about, Pearl Sabor not being able to happen, but this is the first Great Smoke in person in 2 years. Of course, the incredible virtual event that they had last year, and now they're doing virtual and in person here this year for 2022. Have you been to several Great Smokes? I mean, how many Great Smokes have you been?
I've been to. I think I've been to 10.
Been to all. What is it about this particular event that you enjoy going and work? And I know it's part of your job, but like, what is it about the Great Smoke that you really enjoy?
I think that Abe does an incredible job of generating enthusiasm. Again, the only metric of success is enthusiasm. Does a product or whatever it is, if it's a restaurant or a product or whatever, it doesn't have enthusiasm. And the Great Smoke has definitely a very hardcore following, and that translates. And so it's good to be around that and to experience that. And I think that's the best thing that they have going for it, is that the people that show up are super excited, and that it's rewarding. When you work in this industry, there's a lot of things that are always happening that are difficult to deal with, and whether it's laws or FDA or whatever it is, that can drain you. And so when you have an event that really creates a lot of passion and excitement, I think that helps to kind of rejuvenate you and make you happy to be a part of all this.
Now, other than the national release for Cerebrus that you guys are doing at the event, is there anything else that y'all are doing special for TGS?
No. So we released a TGS exclusive, which was available to anyone that's involved virtually, that has a ticket, either virtually or in person. So those will be, I think, whatever they have left. It's a big secret with them. I don't even know how many they have left. They might have 5 boxes, or haven't sold any yet. I don't know. But that will be
They've definitely sold some, Terence. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a few. So yeah, whatever is left will be a part of that. So that'll be there. And that was an incredible blend and a project that we were really passionate about, and just a lot. That's one of my favorite blends we make. So that will be there, and then and then the Cerebrus release. Those are the two big attractions.
Fantastic. Well, that leaves us with our curveball segment, Terence. And as always, our curveball segment is brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter. Since the company's inception, Steve Saka has been knocking them out of the park. 7 now. It's been 7 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Unbelievable. And congratulations to our friend Steve Saka. So this is our curveball question. We talked about Clutchburger at the top of the show here, Terence. So I've got it's actually 2 curveball questions.
Go ahead,
You've done probably in your lifetime have been part of a number of interviews, and interview questions are always involve all the standard questions, and then there's always that stupid question that gets thrown in an interview, like what if you were a flavor of jam or jelly, what would you be? If you were a clutch burger topping, which would you be and why?
I have a choice. Is there ABC or I'm coming up with it?
No, it's completely open. Yeah, open book, up to your interpretation. How would you?
No, so they have clutch sauce, which is unique to them, and I think that would be what I would be, because the what's special about them is that they're unique, and so I would be the clutch sauce.
Well, tell me about clutch sauce. I've never been. So what is clutch sauce? Is it like a ketchup mayo thing, or
I can't tell you anything about it. You got to go.
It's a secret. Okay,
it's a secret.
Okay.
No, there's not. Yeah, you got to go.
Okay, so
otherwise it would ruin the whole experience.
Fantastic. Well, I'll find out what clutch sauce is by myself. I will definitely figure that out on my own. So, but why would you define yourself as this famed mystery, great secret that Clutch Burger has made?
I think you just explained it.
You're just a great mystery of greatness.
Yeah. Well, again, I think what's important is you always want to find out what's special about you and different and unique.
Okay.
And so everybody's got ketchup, everybody's got mustard. You want to be something different, and so they have their clutch sauce, which is delicious and unique to them.
And Aganorsa has its clutch sauce, and Terence Reilly. There you go. Perfect. You heard it here.
Gotta help them. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate our guest time this evening, and thank you all for tuning in, staying up late as always on a Sunday evening. You can check out our show on our YouTube channel, ELOSOFUMAR. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to hit the like and follow button on Facebook. That's where you're going to find out a calendar of upcoming events. Make no mistake, this was our 199th take. Take 200 coming next week. Fantastic to announce. I'm fantastically excited to announce our guest for our 200th, our landmark 200th take will be none other than Carlito Fuente of Arturo Fuente Cigars. Yes, Carlito Fuente will be joining us for our 200th take. I can't imagine a better way to say goodbye to the 100s than with the gentleman here in front of me, Mr. Terence Reilly. But we welcome in the next 100 by kicking off take 200 with Carlito Fuente. It will be a take you don't want to miss. So check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to hit the download, subscribe, and review button. If you already are a subscriber, do me a favor, hit unsubscribe, but then hit resubscribe. It helps my numbers so I can continue to get great guests like my guest tonight, Mr. Terence Reilly. So for everyone out there, I'm Brady live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. It was my pleasure. He's Terence Reilly. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.